Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Dana of the Dead. Today I'm going to be discussing the horror sci-fi film, M3GAN. This film had a runtime of 1 hour and 42 minutes. It was directed by Gerard Johnstone, and it had a budget of $12 million. Let's just get right into it. This film is about an AI doll. So it's Model 3 generative android, M3GAN for short. And this doll is a robot, like an AI robot, and she stores information. And this doll is actually played by a human, a little girl named Amy Donald. So she plays the physical doll while Jenna Davis does the voice because Amy has an accent. And then we have Gemma, who's the aunt, and we have Katie, who's the niece. Now, Gemma is played by Allison Williams from Get Out, and Katie is played by Violet McGraw from Haunting of Hill House. So I do want to start out by saying that these kid actors, or I guess kid actresses, are fantastic. It's kind of the same thing with the Black Phone. I love those kids. They're so good. It's so impressive. Speaking of the Black Phone, this film was produced by James Blum, who also produced the Black Phone, which I love. So to summarize the film, this AI doll is created as a companion or best friend of this little girl who just lost both of her parents in a tragic car accident. Gemma's called to the hospital to find out her sister dies and her sister's husband dies, and she's going to take guardianship over Katie. Now, there's no funeral service showed, and there's genuinely like no emotion showed that this girl's sister died. And that kind of irritated me a little, and I wasn't positive if that was supposed to play into her character because Gemma, the aunt, is a very career-driven person. That's all she cares about, basically. So Gemma's working at this big company. She's trying to get this doll nailed down so she shows it to her boss, David, who's played by Ronnie Chang. I believe that is how you pronounce it. And I will say I could not stand his acting, but that is the only acting flaw I have in this film. Gemma gets the doll nailed down. At first, it had like a wonky face. It was like melted looking because this guy, her one friend Cole, well, it's like a work friend. So Cole and Tess are her two work friends that I think Gemma's kind of the lead person, and they're kind of her little like people that help her. And then David's the boss. She gets the doll. She shows this doll to David. And he's like mesmerized by it. They want to do like a live stream launch. But let's just say this doll is extremely protective of Katie. And Katie, in the beginning opening scene of the film, is already obsessed with her little fluffy robot toy. And her parents keep saying, like, I thought we limited your screen time to like 30 minutes a day. And Katie's like obsessed with this doll. Like, she gets way too into it. And I definitely respected that the parents were limiting her screen time. But the aunt's a totally different story. She loves all things robots and future and AI. Like there's a scene when she walks in the house when Katie first comes home to live there. And it's like, you have 13 Tinder notifications. And then she's like, turn off. And like, she can turn the lights on in the hallway with this Alexa type voice thing. And she's all about it. So Katie and M3GAN get real tight, and M3GAN's taking on these roles of responsibility, reminding her to use a coaster, reminding her to flush the toilet so Gemma can focus on her work. M3GAN observes every person that comes into contact with her. She can observe their emotions, their emotional state of anxiety, fear, stress, worry, trust, things like that. There's a neighbor. She's supposed to be kind of like a annoying neighbor, and she has this like vicious dog. And the second you see a dog in any horror film, they're gonna die. So I'm like, oh great, can't wait to see that. But anywho, so the woman's like spraying chemicals on the fence, and Gemma's like, they just don't really get along. And Gemma's a little snobby about some of the stuff she says, and I'm like, okay. She's like talking about getting the dog put down at one point. That doesn't need to happen because M3GAN kills the dog. We never see how she kills it, and I'm gonna assume it's because it was PG-13. She sees that the dog poses a threat to Katie because the dog bites Katie on the arm because Gemma won't fix a hole in a fence. And I'm like, girl, you could at least just throw a piece of plywood up and just nail that in literally 30 seconds. But I guess they had to set up something to have the doll first get angry about. How did that hole even get there? So Katie becomes pretty obsessive and attached to M3GAN, which is completely understandable considering her parents just passed away and she's given this doll that is completely nice to her, knows everything about her, can store memories for her. And she's basically like the same age, height type thing, and very, very protective. And so Gemma brings Katie to this alternative school, and they're in the woods with all these kids and teacher and parents and whatnot. And Gemma is needing to take M3GAN back to her job so she can work on her and make sure she's good for the release. Katie basically begs and begs and begs that she can just stay with her, so they allow her to stay on the toy table. Now, Katie gets paired up with this bully, Brandon, who went to the woods, and Brandon starts bullying Katie, and M3GAN comes to follow after, even though she was not supposed to leave the toy table. And the little boy kind of starts smacking M3GAN around and, bullying both of them. And M3GAN rips his ear off and then shoves him into the street where he gets hit and killed by a car. So then the neighbor turns up dead and the dog's missing. And that's when Gemma puts it in her head that there's a link with all of this, and she's afraid that M3GAN might be behind it. Then she wraps her up in like plastic wrap and duct tape, and they're driving back to Gemma's job, and Katie's throwing a fit. She ends up slapping Gemma in the face. She cops an attitude a good amount in this film, and I cannot blame her because losing both of your parents at once, it's completely normal to have some bad behaviors and reactions to that. So basically, it's launch night. So Gemma is telling Cole and Tess, her coworker friends, to just make sure that M3GAN doesn't have any glitches in her coding or anything like that, and she drives off. Meanwhile, M3GAN ends up breaking free. This is when things get pretty fun. David, the boss, is like, "Where's M3GAN? I need her." He's like storming through the hallway and runs into M3GAN. He's like, "What are you doing?" And she starts dancing. And then she gets a paper cutter and there's a chase scene with the boss. And that was probably my favorite scene in the film. Gotta love a good chase scene. There was a lot of comedy in this film, and I definitely enjoyed it a little more than I should have, I suppose. So basically, she goes and just kills these people. She comes back to the house. She gets in a fight with Gemma. Anyway, Katie comes into the room, basically saves the day. They kill M3GAN using another robot that Gemma had taught her how it worked. So she was able to not only use its powers, but to know how to kill M3GAN with this screwdriver thing. I would say I definitely enjoyed this film. Was it scary? No. Was it funny? Yes. It was enjoyable. Like I said, the kid actors were great. What you could take away from the film is what I already like, how every robot story ends is that they're gonna turn against us. I do think the Rotten Tomatoes score is a little up there, but still a decent film, nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. I would probably watch it again. So for anyone that actually really loved this film, the good news is that there is a sequel set to be released on January 17th of 2025, and that is going to be called M3GAN 2.0. Thanks again for sticking around. If you have any agreements or disagreements, please place them in the comment section below. If you liked my video, give it a thumbs up. If you aren't already subscribed, you can click that subscribe button if you'd like. And if not, if you would just share it on a social media platform, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video.